It began in the quietest part of the house, which, in this family, meant the place least likely to host a breakdown, monologue, or spontaneous salsa rehearsal. Milo was looking for candles. A storm was coming, the power was already flickering, and Jessica had muttered something about setting intention and ghost-friendly lighting. He opened Lucrecia's wardrobe, not the main one, the hidden one, behind the rack of antique shawls that smelled like past arguments. There it was. A box. Not hidden. Not displayed. Just waiting. Inside, a black and white photo, yellowed at the edges. 2 women. One was unmistakably Lucrecia, younger, severe even then. The other, standing beside her, smirking like she just won something no one else knew was a contest. She looked exactly like Milo. Same eyes. Same eyebrows. Same sharp little twist at the corner of the mouth. He turned it over. On the back. My worst friend. Your mother. The pen had pressed hard, the words scratched deep, like someone wanted them to be felt through fingertips. Milo didn't speak. Didn't move. He just stared at it. And for once, the usually too smart for his own good teenager didn't try to explain it away. Didn't reach for irony or Freud or Latin root etymology. He just knew. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a coincidence. This was the beginning. And upstairs, somewhere in the walls, Señor Whiskers growled low. As if the house remembered her name. Veronica was in the bathtub. Naturally. Silk headwrap, eucalyptus steam, a glass of regret disguised as rose. She was humming something, a melody from a soap she starred in 15 years ago, and never quite let go. Milo entered without knocking. He held the photo like evidence. Like a blade. Who is she? Veronica's foot slipped. The wine nearly spilled. Milo! You cannot just barge into emotional hygiene. He didn't flinch. Answer the question. Veronica glanced at the photo. Froze. Then, oh no. She stood up so fast a bath bomb detonated behind her. Who showed you that? Lucrecia. Or maybe gravity. Her closet doesn't lock. Veronica grabbed a towel, eyes wide. I didn't tell you because I didn't know myself. You wrote my last name down when you adopted me. You had a file. I had a moment, okay. The auction was open bar. Milo stared. Veronica. Focus. She wrapped herself tighter, mascara steaming down one cheek. I thought I recognized her. Years ago. But I convinced myself it was projection. You were smart. Calm. Not an attention addict. I assumed I made you up. He held the photo out again. The writing on the back. That's Lucrecia's. Veronica groaned. Of course it is. Dramatic cursive soaked in spite. From the hallway, a low voice. I remember her. Jessica. She stepped in, holding a tray of lemon tea and unsolicited truths. I saw her photo once. At Escuela del Este. Teacher's wall. Chemistry department. Veronica gasped. Of course she was a chemistry teacher. The bangs. The menacing bangs. She was fired, Jessica added. Something about a fire. A scandal. But she had a kid. Milo's grip tightened. Chloe leaned into the doorway, as usual, sipping something dark and smoking without fire. Maybe we're all from different fathers, she said casually. Or mothers. Or universes. Who knows anymore? Veronica sank to the floor. Milo. Darling. You are my accidental miracle. I don't care whose DNA you share, you're mine in paperwork and pantheon. Milo didn't respond. He walked out slowly, photo still in hand. In the hallway mirror, he caught his reflection. But for a second, just a flicker, it wasn't him. It was her. Smirking. Same eyes. Same mouth. Same unfinished sentence. The school didn't know it was part of a mystery. Escuela del Este looked like every other place Milo had been forced to exist. Beige hallways, inspirational posters with fraying corners, and fluorescent lights that hummed like anxious relatives. He walked straight past the front office with the confidence of someone who either belonged or dared someone to stop him. Jessica had been right. Near the back stairwell, past a wall of dusty academic plaques, there it was. A photograph. Year 1998. Staff group portrait, Science Department. Middle row, fourth from the left, her hair pulled back. Lab coat. That same ironic slant to her eyes, like the whole world had just tripped, and she was pretending not to laugh. Below the photo, Isadora Feldman, chemistry. Milo took out his phone. Snapped the picture. The janitor looked up from his mop. You know her? Milo paused. I think I'm the epilogue to her story. The janitor grunted. She was smart. Too smart. Lab explosion on a Wednesday. Some say it was sabotage. Others say passion. Passion? Milo echoed. Romantic, the man said, pointing to his temple. Somebody else's husband, if I remember. You look like her, by the way. You got that same watching everything all the time vibe. Milo smiled faintly. He walked out of the school slower than he came in. Outside, the wind shifted. Sharp. Clean. He didn't go home right away. He walked. Through the plaza. Past the bookstore. To the farthest bench under the fig tree with the cracked stone beneath it. A place where, somehow, he didn't feel like a character. He opened his notes app. Type. Isadora Feldman. Chemistry teacher. Fired. Possibly in love. Possibly betrayed. Possibly my mother. He stared at the words. Deleted possibly. Then typed. And someone took her son. He didn't press send. There was no one to send it to. But behind him, Señor Whiskers emerged from a bush. No collar cam today. Just presents. He jumped onto the bench beside Milo. Saturday. Said nothing. Milo looked at him sideways. What, you knew this too? The cat didn't blink. Didn't purr. Just flicked his tail once, like punctuation. And for the first time since he found the photo, Milo laughed. Quiet. Small. Real. Back at the house, the storm had arrived, dramatic and precisely timed, like it had been directed by Lucrecia herself. Milo entered soaked, the school photo folded in his back pocket. Jessica handed him a towel and said nothing, which, in this house, meant she cared very much. Upstairs, Chloe was painting a door that didn't exist. On her canvas, a hallway, endless, lined with framed mirrors. No reflections. Just empty gold. Any progress on your orphan origin saga? She asked without turning. I have a name, Milo said. And a scandal. And a janitor who speaks in riddles. Chloe nodded. So Tuesday. He didn't smile. Lucrecia was in the study, feeding her tea plants under grow lights. Milo entered without knocking. She didn't look up. Found her, didn't you? I did. He took out the photo. Laid it on the table between them. Why didn't you burn this one too? Lucrecia traced the edge of the image with one gloved finger. She earned her place in the archive. Milo crossed his arms. Who was she? Lucrecia finally looked up. Eyes colder than her mug. She was my worst friend. He waited. She sighed, as if the weight of memory cracked somewhere behind her ribcage. She and I were married to the same man. Not at the same time. Not legally. But emotionally? Completely. He loved her brain. Her chaos. I gave him structure. Tradition. Linen napkins. Milo's voice was low. And she won. No, Lucrecia said. She left. With him. Took their science experiments and flammable emotions and vanished. Milo leaned in. You hated her so much, you took her child? Lucrecia didn't blink. I raised you well. That's not what I asked? She stood. Poured a new cup of tea. Her hand shook just once. She left you behind. No, Milo said. You made her leave me behind. Silence stretched. Thunder rumbled. Then Lucrecia said it. Flat. Clean. Surgical. She took my husband. So I took her son. The words hit like a final period. Milo didn't scream. Didn't even flinch. He just stared at her. Like she was a museum exhibit that had suddenly started speaking. Then, quietly, explains why I'm the smartest one here. He left her with that. Walked past the parlor, past the orchids, up the stairs. In his room, Señor Whiskers was already curled on his pillow. Waiting. That night, for the first time, the cat slept at his side. And the hallway outside didn't make a sound. No one talked at breakfast. The silence wasn't tense, it was reverent. Like the house itself was adjusting to a new hierarchy. Milo sat at the end of the table. Not by design, not by ceremony. It just happened. The seat opened for him, and no one challenged it. Jessica served coffee with quiet efficiency. Chloe dipped toast in black jam and watched everyone like it was an exhibit. Brandon, unusually clothed, sipped orange juice and avoided eye contact with anything deeper than a cereal box. Veronica, late and dramatic, entered with a veil and acclaim. I dreamed of a fire, she said, collapsing into her chair. A woman in a lab coat whispered, he wasn't yours to forget. Then she threw a beaker at me. No one responded. Milo pushed a piece of paper across the table. It was a copy of the school photo. Circled in red. Lucrecia didn't touch it. I prefer my ghost unprinted. Veronica peeked. Oh no. I recognize those cheekbones. I think we went to the same spa once. She was your best friend. Milo asked Lucrecia, not as accusation, but as cataloging. No, Lucrecia said. She was my worst friend. Which is more intimate? From under the table, Señor Whiskers purred once. Loud. As if confirming. Chloe set down her toast. If we're rewriting who belongs to who, I call dibs on emotional detachment and the blender. Milo stood. I'm going to her school again today. I want to see where she worked. Lucrecia's hand twitched toward her teacup. Don't expect answers from ghosts. They tend to lie in lowercase. Veronica reached for him, suddenly fragile. Milo, what happens now? He paused in the doorway. Now? You all go back to chaos. I'll find my way through the smoke. And he left. No one followed. Not even the cat. But Lucrecia turned to the window, eyes glassy. And whispered, Izzy, if you're watching, he's better than us. Later, alone in her room, she pulled out a new sheet of paper. Not old stationery. Not memoir pages. This one was different. The title at the top. To the one I hated most. And beneath it, she began. You made me cruel. But I made him kind. The letter sat on Lucrecia's desk, unfinished. She didn't write linearly, never had. She skipped. Circled. Crossed things out that hadn't even been written yet. You made me cruel. But I made him kind. Then, unless he was always kind. And I only sharpened the edges. Crossed out. Down the hall, Chloe stood in Milo's doorway, watching. Not knocking. He was on the floor, books open around him. Old yearbooks. School records. A faded science fair pamphlet from 1998 titled, Tomorrow's Minds, Today's Mischief. She finally said, You're obsessing. Milo didn't look up. That's what people say when they're afraid you'll finish the puzzle. Chloe stepped in. If she was so awful, why are you still trying to see her clearly? He finally met her eyes. Because I don't want to forgive Lucrecia by accident. Chloe smirked. Now that's the de la Cruz blood I recognize. Downstairs, Brandon was in the garden, attempting a wellness vlog about forgiveness. He spoke to the camera. Sometimes the abs are tight, but the family is tighter. Wait, no, I can't say that. That's weird. Señor Whiskers, curled on a sun-drenched windowsill, opened one eye, rolled it with feline disdain, and went back to sleep. Veronica spent the morning dramatically tossing out old family photos, but secretly saving Annie with Milo's blurry silhouette in the background. I knew I sensed potential. She whispered to no one. By evening, Milo returned to the hidden wardrobe. He sat in front of it, cross-legged, calm, and pulled something new from behind the lining. A ribbon. Faded blue. Slightly burnt at one end. The tag still legible. Feldman, Science Fair, 1998, Best in Show. He turned it over. On the back, in a handwriting that wasn't Lucrecia's. He was quiet even then. But he knew what mattered. He stared at the words until they blurred. Then he got up, walked to his closet, and pinned the ribbon inside the door. Not on display. Just placed. Behind him, Señor Whiskers entered. Silent. Jumped onto the bed. Saturday. And for the first time since the photo, purred. Not a warning. Not a threat. Just presence. Downstairs, Lucrecia stared at her letter. Pen poised. Not moving. She whispered, "You were the fire. I was the lock. And he is the house." And outside, the wind shifted directions. The next morning, Chloe entered the dining room and paused mid-step. Milo was already there. Coffee in hand. Reading. But not a book. Lucrecia's letter. She hadn't hidden it. He hadn't asked permission. He just read. Chloe sat across from him. "She'll kill you." "She already did," Milo said. 15 years ago, when she renamed me and taught me how to sharpen my sentences before my teeth. Veronica swept in moments later wearing a tulle robe and misplaced hope. "Good morning, my emotionally scattered angels. Anyone want a cleanse? No one wants your cayenne resentment shot," Jessica muttered, passing with a tray of papaya and pointed silence. Milo folded the letter. "I have questions." Lucrecia appeared in the archway as if summoned. "Then ask? Or write your own. Did she leave me? Or did you make sure she couldn't come back?" Lucrecia tilted her head. "Both." The room held its breath. She Saturday. Isadora was brilliant. But she was unstable. Wild. She burned what she loved. And I collected what was left. Chloe spoke softly. "You mean him?" Lucrecia nodded. He was quiet. Curious. Always watching. Like a cat that learned to read. Señor Whiskers twitched from the armchair. Brandon entered shirtless, clutching a smoothie and ancient wisdom. "Okay, but does this make Milo, legacy adjacent? Or just emotionally feral?" Veronica waved him off. "Let the boy grieve his origin, Brandon. Not everyone was catalogued and cry-laughed into existence like you." Milo stood. "I'm going to the archive room." Everyone blinked. "The what?" Chloe asked. Lucrecia smirked. "Of course he knows about the archive. The house told him." Jessica sighed. "Third floor. Behind the linen closet. Keys hidden in the dumbwaiter. Pull twice, wait 3 seconds." Brandon blinked. "Wait, we have a dumbwaiter?" Chloe. "Brandon, we are the dumbwaiters." Milo left, the letter in his back pocket. As he reached the 3rd floor, the air thickened. Not dusty, dense. Like breath before a confession. He found the panel. Found the key. Found the room. Inside boxes. Labels. Years. He opened one marked 1998, incidents. Inside, newspaper clippings. A burned experiment report. A resignation letter. And at the bottom, a birthday card. Untouched. Unsent. To Milo. From Isadora. "You won't read this, but I hope you still hum when you think." He closed the box. Sat on the floor. And hummed. Just once. And far below, Señor Whiskers purred in harmony. For the first time in De La Cruz history, Milo missed dinner. No note. No drama. Just absence. Veronica stood over an untouched plate of beet risotto and announced, "I am filing an emotional missing persons report. Not legally, but metaphorically." Jessica lit candles with unbothered grace. Let him sit with the truth. You all should try it sometime. Chloe stabbed a cherry tomato with the precision of an assassin. He's in the archive. I felt it. Felt it? Brandon blinked. Like vibes? No, she said. Like gravity. Upstairs, Milo was still on the floor, legs folded, boxes open around him like chapters. He'd found a cassette unlabeled. He played it on an old dictaphone buried in the same box as a faded birthday hat. Isadora's voice crackled to life. He doesn't cry when he falls. He waits to see who's watching first. Milo shut his eyes. The recording continued. If something happens to me, and it will, I want him to know, he wasn't made of my mistakes. He was made despite them. Silence. Then a match strike. A door closing. He rewound it. Listened again. And again. Downstairs, Lucrecia stood alone in the garden. She was planting something. Brandon approached, holding a watering can like it was cursed. What is that? Night jasmine, she replied. It blooms after damage. He looked at her. That's poetic. And unsettling. She wiped her hands. So is Milo. That night, Milo returned to his room. Quiet. Collected. Pinned the cassette ribbon beside the science fair medal. Señor Whiskers was waiting. He jumped into Milo's lap, circled twice, and settled. Milo whispered. I heard her voice. The cat blinked. Downstairs, Lucrecia pulled open her desk drawer. Took out the letter she had started days ago. And added a new line. I wanted to be the woman who saved him. Instead, I became the one who didn't tell him why he needed saving. She sealed the envelope. Labeled it simply. For Milo. When he's ready. And left it on his pillow. Where he wouldn't see it, yet. But the cat would. Morning came soft, like it was sorry. Milo found the envelope before he opened his eyes, as if it had grown from the pillow overnight. Señor Whiskers sat at his feet, tail wrapped like punctuation. The letter was sealed with wax. A crimson smudge. No emblem. Just, for Milo. When he's ready. He didn't open it. Not yet. Instead, he placed it on the desk beside the others, the photo, the ribbon, the tape. His growing museum of not accidents. Downstairs, the house had already shifted into passive-aggressive hosting mode, coffee brewed but no one claimed it, chairs pulled themselves half out, and the chandelier hummed in E minor. Jessica was polishing candlesticks like she was warding off spirits. Something's coming, she muttered. Maybe a reckoning. Maybe brunch. Veronica floated in, veil on, holding a tarot card she definitely didn't know how to read. This one means closure, right? She asked no one. Or sciatica? Chloe painted in the sunroom, a field of hands reaching toward a single boy walking away. She titled it, Exit Wound Inherited. Brandon sat cross-legged on the floor beside her, holding a dumbbell like a rosary. If Milo's our emotional core and he's cracked, what are we? Bystanders, Chloe replied. Pretty ones. Milo descended the stairs with the kind of silence that felt chosen. Intentional. He walked past everyone. Out the front door. No shoes. No phone. Just the envelope, now in his coat pocket. He walked through the orchard. Past the old swing. Toward the bench under the fig tree, the same one from days ago. Someone was sitting there. Lucrecia. She didn't turn around. She just said, Did you read it? No. Good. They sat in silence. Then she asked, Do you remember the day I brought you here? Milo nodded. You wore blue. The house smelled like cinnamon and hostility. She smiled faintly. You never asked why I didn't change your name. I figured you were lazy. I wasn't. He waited. I wanted you to forget who she was. But I couldn't make myself erase it. I hated her. But I didn't want you to hate her. Milo reached into his pocket. Pulled out the envelope. Placed it in her lap. I already know what it says. I've lived it. Then he stood. Walked back toward the house. Señor Whiskers waited by the door. He looked up once. Then turned. And followed. The house was still. Not quiet, never truly quiet, but stilled, like a stage between acts. Milo entered slowly, the air shifting around him as if the walls had exhaled in his absence. He didn't head to his room. He went to the parlor, where everything once happened, and now, nothing did. Chloe sat by the window, legs curled under her like a dark question mark. "Did you burn it?" she asked without looking. "No," Milo said. "She needs it more than I do." A pause. Then, "You look taller." "I feel final." From the hallway, Jessica called gently. "There's soup." No one moved. Brandon appeared, unusually dressed in all black, his idea of mourning. "Hey," he said. "If we all rewrote our origin stories today, wanna help me fake my resume tomorrow?" Milo smiled. "A real one?" "Brief." "Sure." Veronica floated down the stairs in pearls and silence. She stopped on the final step. Looked at him. "You were never mine," she said softly. "But you made me believe I had something good." "You did," Milo replied. "Just not in the way you thought." They didn't hug. They didn't need to. And upstairs, Lucrecia sat at her desk, rereading the letter he'd returned to her, still sealed. Still hers. She folded it. Filed it into a drawer labeled Regret, Archived. Then stood. And opened every window, letting the jasmine scent in. That night, Milo walked through the halls of the house like someone who finally owned his shadow. Every light flickered on a half-second before he passed it. In his room, Señor Whiskers was already asleep. But the ribbon was gone. In its place, a new one. Fresh. White. Tied around a small box. Inside, a photograph. Isadora. Lucrecia. Milo. All collaged together, clumsily, childishly. Like someone had tried to make something whole. On the back, a line, handwritten in Lucrecia's new, shaky scrawl. "You were never the missing piece. You were the frame." The chandelier in the hall dimmed itself. And somewhere in the house, a door that had never opened before clicked. Not loudly. Just enough. As if to say, "Now."